Hello and TGIF. Thank you for tuning into the Financial Chick Show today. I am your host, Denise, the CEO and owner of Diversified Financial Solutions, a full-service independent financial planning firm located in Medford. I'm here live every Friday from 5:30 to 6 p.m. on 103.9 LI News Radio. Your Financial Chick is here to help you make better financial decisions and choices to improve your life and reduce your anxiety and stress about money. And man, that's the word I'm hearing a whole lot. Actually, got a couple of calls today, people stress and anxiety. But if you have any questions on anything we discuss here in the air, you can always check out my website at financialchickshow.com or call my office at 631-758-8691. I'm also instituting that phone-in Friday, every last Friday of the month too, so you can call into the show. If you want to call into the show, you're always welcome to do that. But we're going to designate one time a month to just exclusive calls from you. I want to hear from you. And you can also find me on Facebook or Instagram at Diversified Financial Solutions. So holy crap, man, how cold is it out there right now? The wind is biting and it's a balmy 18 degrees when I was driving here. The weather is really manic, just as the stock market is, right? There's a lot of correlations there. And we wonder why we're all feeling unsettled, anxiety-ridden, depression, etc. Now, it is winter, obviously, here on Long Island, but it's so hard to follow the weather patterns. You know, we go from wearing a light jacket or no jacket at all to having to put on layers of clothing. But you know, this is not uncommon, however. You know, every winter plays out differently. Last winter, we had some really cold days, weeks actually. Got a little bit of snow, definitely more than we got this year. So we've been pretty lucky with the temperatures. You know, they haven't really been going down so much and not getting a whole lot of snow so far. We're not out of the woods yet, I know. But now one of the things from a financial standpoint that helps to keep the heating bills down. Not today and certainly not tomorrow though. So you definitely want to turn that heat up to make sure you do not freeze, but most importantly, so you do not have any burst pipes. I just don't even want to, we were talking before the show, I don't even want to leave my house tomorrow. I'm hoping I don't think I do. But anyway, I guess we'll find out. I go hour by hour now. There's no planning. It's just like so cold. And that damn groundhog, he predicted 6 more weeks of winter. So, but in reality, spring will officially start in 45 days on March 20th. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel also coming here. And I'm driving in the light. It's not pitch black when I get here. It is now, but when I get here, it's not, which is nice. So that's good. Now, I know we have some winter lovers out there. But everyone, I mean, let's be honest, seems to gets perked up when the weather gets more stable and warm. Not to mention the grass turns green and the flowers come up. Life just seems to come alive and people get happy. So I'm being optimistic. So, but we'll get through this weekend, just like we'll get through the market. So, like I said, last week I had my first phone-in Friday show. We had 3 great calls, and I'm going to do this, like I said, every the end of the last Friday of the month. So don't forget to call in. All right, so we talked about the weather being a little manic, and the market has been pretty manic as well. So how about this week? This week, the Federal Reserve continued on their raising rates program. Now again, the Federal Reserve determines what interest rates are for your CDs, mortgages, loans, APRs on your credit cards, etc., etc. So this week, they raised the rate by 25 basis points to a 4.75% rate. Now, if you haven't been listening to the show, just to give it a breath or an idea, a little over a year ago, we were at 0.25. So in just about a year, a little over a year, we've moved up from 0.25 to 4.75, or to calculate 4.5%. So that's kind of done a lot to the market. So now, after he raised rates, he talked about the fact that he's probably going to slow down his rate raising, which 25 basis points was smaller than most of the rates that have been done over the past year. So he said he's going to slow down, which basically propelled the market on Thursday. The index most affected was the NASDAQ, which is mostly technology stocks. That was up over 2% in just one day. And, you know, some people get pumped up about having a CD in 6 months or 2%. They did it in one day, just to give that a little bit of a perspective. So it was mostly boosted by Meta Platforms, formerly known as Facebook. Actually, there was even a commentator that came on that he said he has full faith and he feels that Mark Zuckerberg, you know, he thinks he's going to do a great job. So there you go. Most of the technology stocks that have been doing poorly also were lifted on Thursday due to that. Sometimes when you see a sector, if one company, like in the healthcare sector, if like Merck does well, or Johnson & Johnson, usually lifts the whole sector. So Meta Platforms did that to most of the technology stocks on Thursday. But they were doing great on Thursday, only to give back most of those gains today due to missing earning estimates. Apple saw a decline of 5% in revenue, which is not terrible. That's actually not terrible in this environment. While Amazon had a loss of $2.7 billion. So you don't have to go and cry or grab a tissue to cry for these companies. They're coming off years of making money hand over fist. But here's the deal. The overall economy is struggling and inflation is still a problem. So many people are being forced to get back to budgeting and buying those things that they need, like food and paying their rent and mortgage, versus the spending sprees of the pandemic, where we were buying everything and anything, and everybody's front porch had Amazon boxes stacked like a mile high. So cash reserves are going down, due to the increase of costs and everything that we need. I know if you've been listening to the show, we talked about the cost of eggs. I don't have to tell you about it. If you go to the supermarket, you see it. It's right there. So what happens when the reserves are down or depleted in some cases? When I say reserves, that's your cash, your cash reserve, or your savings, your checking. People need to get the money to pay for these things that they need. So just this week, actually, we had a bunch of clients call asking for money. From their portfolios. So, if you don't have it locally in your bank with your cash and savings, you got to get it from somewhere. And, it's kind of a tough time too right now, because the portfolios, they're still down, although they've done better. I spoke to another client today who put a quote in the email, the regarding portion of the email. She put anxiety, and I'm like, oh gosh. So I opened up her email, and she was just like, I'm just really, really freaked out about everything. Now, most people don't watch this day to day, which is good. I know some of you out there do, but don't watch the market every day or the stocks every day. It just makes you crazy. So I said to her, listen, December statements were terrible. The good news, we came out of the gate pretty quickly this year. I mean, the markets are ranging anywhere from 3 to 9%, depending on the index or the makeup of your portfolio. So, you could have, it depends on your portfolio, but on average, I would say on my entire client base right now, we're up about 5% year to date. That's everything, and people are in very, very different investments across the board, depending on who they are and where they are. But yeah, so when things locally, you don't have the money, you have to go to your portfolio, and sometimes it's not the best time to take it. So what were some of the calls? Well, I had one woman that she's going to be doing some renovations on her house. So she wanted to, and we've been talking about it, and she's kind of put monies away. So it's kind of nice with planning. Like when you plan, we don't have to be freaking out about, oh my God, where are we going to get the money? So we knew where we were getting it. She deployed that money. We deployed that money out of her portfolio this week, and she's going to help the economy and get her windows done. And she said it's kind of a snowball effect, because not only the windows, then you got to get the rug, and then you got to get a new bedspread, and so she had me laughing. But so she did that. Another gentleman was just panicking, and he said that his spouse is just still on the spending sprees of the pandemic, and he's a little bit nervous, and his cash reserves are going down. So his choice was to pay a mortgage off and take money out of the portfolio. I guided him that was probably not the best idea, but he's been talking about this for a long time, and finally deployed that money. And listen, it's I'm the advisor, I can help you, but the bottom line is always your money. And in the end, I do what you need to do to make it happen. So if that relieved his anxiety or his emotions to get that done, I did my job. So it was a good week, So we're running into the break a little bit, but we're going to talk a little bit more about the market, and about some calls that I got this week, and job reports and all of that kind of stuff. So stay tuned. But you are listening to the Financial Chick Show, and I am the Financial Chick, Denise Nostrom, the company's diversified financial solutions. I help you look for financial solutions when you feel like there are none. Feel free to call me at 631-758-8691, or reach me on my website at financialchickshow.com. So like I said, we're closing into commercial break, but please stay tuned. There will be so much more information that you need to know for your financial life. I'm the financial chick. My company's in Medford, and you can reach me at 631-758-8691 or visit my website at financialchickshow.com. I'm here to help you on your financial journey. Over the years, things change, and I'm here to help you navigate all of those changes. And my God, change. It just seems like everything is changing very, very quickly. And I mean, I'm on top of this stuff, right? But like, even there's days that things are just moving so quickly. I said that to a client today. I said, probably to reduce your anxiety and stress, just shut the damn TV off, because if you shut the TV off, you really feel a lot better. It's really, I have to be on top of this stuff, so I can, when a client calls and says, oh, there's a Chinese balloon over Montana, I kind of know what they're talking about. We'll go to that in a second. But yeah, it's crazy. But, change is just a constant. And I think the most important thing to be successful, especially in your financial life, is to be up on all of this stuff. And honestly, I know it's really hard for most of us to be on top of all this, because one, you're kind of green to it, so you're not really sure what the heck it means. Even if you're reading it, you're not really getting you can't wrap your head around it. But also you're busy. You're dealing with your own family issues or work or whatever it may be. But, so leave it to the professionals. Ask questions, talk to people, come in for a consultation. That's what it is. I mean, I try to help my clients, work through all of the changes that go on, and that's one of the things we're going to do today. But there's one thing that just popped in my head, which is really funny, because I'm a financial advisor, or financial planner, I guess, some people call it. And today I got a call from the company that I do for my clients. I send our calendars to my clients, and they called me today, and they wanted to know if I wanted to place my order for the holidays. Now again, I'm a planner, but that's a little bit over the top. Now, of course, it's cold and it feels Christmassy, but I'm not in a Christmas or holiday headspace at all. So I just thought that was really kind of funny. So this is what clouds the week all week long. It's insane. So what happened this week? 517,000 new jobs were created in the month of January. So if you listened to my show a couple of weeks ago, I had said, typically months like January or months like September, typically job numbers fall off, because it's a seasonal type of thing, where the companies or a lot of businesses hire a lot in November, December for the holidays. And then over the summer, the kids come home from school and they're working, and then of course they go back to school in September. So very interesting that we had a big jobs number in January. So it's a pretty big deal. It's a good thing. It's actually a great thing, because unemployment went down to 3.4%, which is the lowest since 1969. Now that's part of not the good thing, but one of the other calls I got this week was a woman that needed some money, and she, it was kind of an interesting call. She said, so I need money. And I said, yeah, okay, so we'll take it out of your portfolio. And then she said, well, how much should I take? And she didn't tell me what she needed it for. And I said, well, what is it for? And she said, well, I need to help my daughter with some with some educational expenses and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, so what do you need? And then she finally gave me a number. So it was just kind of interesting. So I said, well, is this something, because she wanted to go to her bank, and her bank wasn't attached to the account. And I said, if you're going to do this more frequently, then we can do that, put that on the account. And she goes, well, no, I really have to go back to work. So if I go back to work, then I'll be able to pay for the cost for my daughter and stuff like that. So really, with costs rising, people are realizing that they need to go back to work, so it was only a matter of time after the pandemic. People were getting the stimulus checks and building up their savings, or not wanting to work due to COVID, and whatever the case may be. Everybody's got a different situation, but it was only a matter of time that this was going to happen. But I'm sure, and of course it needed to happen. And one of the reasons that it needed to happen, we need people at work, for people that are not working, to pay for Social Security and Medicare. I mean, these are two programs that are just, if we don't have people working and paying into these programs and more people taking out, it's just not a good situation. So this is a bright light. Now, again, like I said, it needed to happen, but I'm sure Biden and his administration will take credit for this, because he really has nothing else. It was going to happen regardless. This is not something that any of his policies propelled to make happen. So, but he has nothing else to go with. And we went back to the Chinese balloon over the U.S. and over Montana. That's apparently, like surveilling the United States. And he's doing really nothing about it. Hunter Biden's crisis continues, and more stories are coming out, and the rising violence and crime, the border crisis, and the list goes on. But it's only a half-hour show, so I have to end the list there. But, we have all of these various things that are going on that, you don't think of directly affect the market, but, they will. I mean, if, especially the border crisis, we have people here that are now upset that they are getting put into different locations as opposed to the hotels. And I think they were complaining about the food they were getting because it wasn't the food that they liked. And, these are all things that we all pay for. So, New York is bleeding out, and in a couple of weeks I'll have, we have Dean Murray coming in. Congressman Dean Murray will be coming, actually Senator Dean Murray, excuse me. He's going to be coming in and give us a little bit of state of the state of what's going on in New York State. So, again, we've got some issues and things are going on, but again, the constant is change. So one of the other things that was a lot of calls this week is tax documents. Now, the tax documents are coming out. I would imagine that most of you probably have not received most of them. And again, just in light of my calls from my clients, the companies had until January 31st to send them out, which was Tuesday. So it's Friday, and then there's the post office. So yes, you might not have gotten everything that you needed to get at this point. I would encourage you to make appointments with your accountants or CPAs because I know they are super busy, and it seems like the tax season gets shorter and shorter, even though the time frame is the same, but it seems to be more compressed. But one thing that you should know, whether from me or from your own financial advisor, we do not send you the 1099s. The 1099s come from the companies. So you can actually contact the company, or you can go log on to their website. If you haven't registered already, you can register on the website, and you can get your 1099s right online if you don't want to wait for the mail in case you do have one of those accounting meetings or your tax meeting soon enough. So again, a lot of calls on that, but that is something that it just takes time. And then if you have a brokerage account, the brokerage companies can take up until February 15th to send out their information. So don't jump to run to get to those taxes done until you really know you have everything, and definitely do a double check on that. RMDs, another big thing. All the RMD letters are going out. If you don't know what that is, it's required minimum distributions. When you become a certain age, if you have IRAs, simple IRAs, 403Bs, 401Ks, whatever it is, and you're not working anymore, well, let's make a caveat. If you're still working, you have a qualified plan like a 401 or 403B, you don't have to take out. But if you have an IRA, you will have to take out RMDs. So it used to be the old 70 and a half, and then they changed that to 72 last year. This year, they changed it to age 73. So let's go here. I'm going to read you some things to figure out what the deal is. If it was age 70 and a half, you had to be born before July 1st, 1949. At age 72, you were born July 1st, 1949 to 1950. So then you would have had to start taking it at 72. For age 73, it's anybody born between the years 1951 and 1959. So if you're in there and you have an IRA, contact me. Contact your IRA provider because you're going to need to start taking required minimum distributions. Like I said, many of the companies send out letters at the beginning of the year, but it's a little more complicated than that. If you have more than one IRA and you forget to take from that one, you're going to have a problem. It's a 50% penalty. Don't want to have it. So I'm not going to be able to get into this too much, but and then one of the other caveats, they are going to change it to age 75 RMDs just to totally confuse you, but those are people born from 1960 or later. So again, for a little bit of planning, I'll go over this again, I am quite sure, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of the heads up of what's going on there, because these are some of the questions that are coming my way. So next week, I will be joined by Dr. Erica Urasitz from Integrative Healing Wellness, and she's going to be with me to talk about your health and my health. I just actually did my cleanse and detox for the new year, so I'm ready to roll. Listen, there's a lot of fights ahead with the market and the weather, right? You've got to be on top of your game. You've got to be healthy. So listen next week to find out how you can do that. Dr. Erica is awesome. So that's it. We're at the end. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, let's do better and be better. Take care and be well. I'll see you next week.